And welcome to Dark Matter, and I'm the host of this program. My name is Bob Bain. And folks, this is I guess you could say it's the reincarnation of Dark Matter from my friend, mentor, the late, great Art Bell. Now, I'll be honest with you, folks. I've seen the way that this scene has become what this scene has become, and that's why Dark Matter is back, because it's like a bunch of little Nuris are running all around the place, and they're naked, and they don't know what they're doing. Hey, I know people are going to complain, but that's the truth. That's why Dark Matter is here, to try and bring back a little bit of my friend, Art Bell. I'm not Art, unless he decides to possess me, which is possible. Who knows? But ladies and gentlemen, this evening we're going to bring on the lovely, the talented, the wicked duo of the Ghostbuster Gals. One's a witchy woman, the other, well, she's an angel girl. Ronnie and Laura Lee. Like I said, it's the Ghostbuster Gals. And without any further ado, let me bring those gals on the line. And before we did come on air with you, we had a lot of laughter. And gals, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Laughter is our trademark.
Yes, and that visualization of little naked Norries.
Little naked Nuris running all over the place.
About bursted out in laughter.
That was the most perfect thing. I love it.
Now,
and I agree with you.
Yeah, this scene has, I don't know if you guys have kept up with what's been happening here in Nashville. I told you about it. The Nashville bomber on Christmas Day we had at the AT&T building. There was a Nashville Day bomber who decided, hey, I'm going to try and take out all of AT&T, at least in the Nashville area, because he felt that the 5G, which AT&T and Verizon and other places have put out, that the 5G cell tower data, or whatever it is, that it's detrimental to our health, that it's also a mind manipulation type of, I guess you would call it cell waves. But not only that, he also believed that there were lizard aliens living among us, and that he spotted some in one of the Nashville parks. So he was out to kill a lot of people. He was like, these aliens, look at them. I'm going to blow up AT&T. And, I mean, that's one thing that I decided right then and there, that while I could do these types of shows, I always brought a certain air of integrity. I didn't bring on just any person, any crazy person. Not really. I mean, occasionally. I had some crazy people. Let me tell you this. When I was doing The Far Side back in 2014, I had an individual who wanted to come on air with me, and I shot him down immediately. It would have made for a great show, but he wanted to talk about the time he had a consensual affair with dolphins. Think about that.
Whoa. That's tabloid material.
Yeah. Now, some people claim that there are audio issues. I don't know if there are any. Let's see. But anyway, gals, how have the two of you been?
Oh, we've been great. As usual, even with all the crap that's going on.
Yep.
Crazy crap.
We're getting immunities to that, yes. We're getting immune to the crazy.
Yeah.
But you have to have a sense of humor, because when you see what's going on and the craziness that's going on, and I see lizard people too. I just have to look at Congress and say, oh, look at those lizards. No, but no,
that's where they hang out.
Yeah. Try not to get political.
Well, I don't technically mind getting political. Everybody has their own personal beliefs. Here's where I stand, and I don't mind just saying this. I'm all about treating others the way I would want to be treated. I want people who are kind, honest, And hopefully they're faithful to their spouses and not... this can even go to Bill Clinton. People like that will have affairs with whoever. Being here in the South, I was raised that you treat women with the deepest of respect. And if you don't, well, you're going to get your ass whooped by one of the brothers, more than likely.
Yes. Yes, and that's called integrity, what you're talking about, Bob. And you mentioned integrity earlier, and we think that's one of the most important things someone can have is integrity. Being honest, being authentic, telling the truth, and just being that good, kind person. That's how we are.
Yes.
Bottom line is, don't be an ass soul. That's our that's our motto. Yeah. Don't be an asshole.
Well, sometimes I'm an asshole, just not an ass soul.
That's
exactly.
Right.
You can all be assholes once in a while, but being an ass soul, that's very, very bad.
That's very bad.
Yes. Now, there's always going to be some technical issues when you do this for the first time, and apparently some people are having issues. I don't seem to have an issue, but then again, I'm right here with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's see. Now, gals, the last time we came together, we ended with the chickens, about putting where I had discussed or asked you if either of you have ever taken the spirit of a possessor out of the possessee and put into one of your chickens, and apparently it had offended a few people. Is that correct?
Yeah, it offended us.
It offended you.
We were offended. We wouldn't do that
love
to
our chickens. Like other people like their cats and dogs, we like our chickens that way. They're our pets, and so just thinking about putting an asshole in one of our chickens, that's not very good. In fact,
no.
I had a chicken that got possessed, with an asshole. And let me tell you what happened. He heard me picking up one of the other chickens, and she squawked. And he came running around, and he attacked me. And I'm like, what the heck? And so I got the broom and smacked him. And that night, I was just trying to figure out what happened to him, because he was normally really nice. And he had a shove-in in him. He had a nasty little booger shove-in that was just... And then he was doing that, he was just being a jerk. And so I was able to take that out, doing my ghost-busting work, and I used the Cryogenetics Egg to pull that thing out of him. And then he was just really nice. And that night when I put him to bed, he said, and because I talk telepathically to my chickens sometimes, he said, I'm really sorry about what happened. I don't know what came over me. I just couldn't help it. And all of a sudden, I just attacked you, and I'm really sorry. And so I said, don't worry. You had a shove-in in you. It wasn't your fault. And he's been just wonderful since then. So thinking about it, so just for the listeners out there, it's not just people that get possessed. Our animals can get possessed, and it can get really ugly. I mean, I still got the scar on my leg where he got me, and so it can be really, really nasty. We had a turkey on our farm that had a real nasty entity in him, and it was kind of a setup, because the group that put him in there knew how much I love my animals, and it was kind of a different situation, because it was designed so I couldn't actually remove it. If I removed it, he'd die. So this scenario kept going on, and he kept attacking people. He was nasty. He was drooling. He was just creepy, nasty. And there was a gal that was staying here, and it was her turkey. And I thought, oh my gosh, how can I tell her we got to put this turkey down. That's the only way to get, because we couldn't get the asshole out of it unless we took the turkey out. That was like the way this was set up. So she took it better than what I thought. I thought she'd think I was off my rocker, but she sat with a minute and she says, you know what, I think you're right. And so she was actually the one that called the vet and said, you know, we're going to bring in this turkey. And at that time, you know, we live out in the country. You don't bring your farm animals into the vets to be put down. You just don't. You just, you know, go out and get your gun and you take care of it. Well, I didn't want that energy on my property of this thing. It's like, no, I want you to put it down. And they said, okay, we'll just drop it off. I said, no. No, I need to be there and watch it be put down. And they thought I was nuttier than a fruitcake.
They still do.
They still do, yeah. Ronnie can tell you the rest of the story.
It's my vet, too.
It's her vet, yeah. Years later, she's got another story. So we put it in the back. I thought, how are we going to chase this thing down? I didn't know how we'd even get it in a cage to take it in there. We finally did, got it in there. We had to go in the back, and there were some horses there. So I did some things to protect all of the animals that were in there, because I knew, you know, I had to be really on my toes when this thing died to hurry and quarantine it and take it away so that it didn't hurt anybody. So we get there, and the vet comes in, and and then this other gal comes in, and she's like putting on her gloves, you know, gloves up to her elbows, and she was like a turkey wrangler, okay? So she we open up the door, and she goes in and she grabs that turkey, and the turkey's like flinging all around, and the vet's there, and the vet shoots him, and it didn't hardly do anything. And I said, give him another one. And so he does it again, and then the turkey starts calming down. And I said, give it one more just to make sure. And then he's sitting there checking its heart and stuff. And I said, now, just please stay here for like at least a couple minutes. I don't want this thing coming back to life. The vet's looking at me like, what is wrong with you, lady? And so, but they obliged, because I paid them, right? I paid them good money to have this turkey put down. So they finally did it. And to my, I checked. He was down. He was gone. I had quarantined the nasty, evil thing that was in him and had that handled. And then they said, okay, you can take him home now. I said, no. I paid you to have him to take care of him yourself. You guys are gonna have him cremated. Nope, that was part of the deal. I paid for it. So they're like, oh, okay, we'll keep the turkey. So that was. So then we went back, and everything on the farm was just nice and calm. That turkey had terrorized the workers on the farm, the other chickens. It was just mean, and it was evil, and it needed to be put down, and it needed to be quarantined while it was being put down so that it didn't hop into somebody else. Okay, now Ronnie has the rest of the story.
Do I? Oh my God. You mean with them telling me how crazy you are? Because I love that vet. He was my vet for the longest time, and we've brought dogs, and he's worked on my horse and all the other things, and I almost didn't want to tell him that I knew Laura. Because they did think she was crazy, but she's not crazy. She also brought one of her chickens, Bertha, in there, and had X-rays of her leg, and I mean, spent so much money on a chicken. People don't understand that, especially farm people. But these animals, I mean, we absolutely love them. They're our hearts. But they just thought she was a little off the wall when I...
Remember, the vet assistant came to your house And your husband comes out and says something about me and the possessed turkey, and she said, I was there for that. Remember?
No. But that doesn't mean anything. I'm old.
That's okay. That's okay.
We're all old.
Yeah,
we're all crazy.
Yeah.
But yes, no, we do. We take we take good care of our animals, and we take them to the vet when they need to, and we take them to be put down when they need to. So.
Yeah, we don't let them suffer. It's one of those things. But chickens, most people don't understand that chickens are very, very smart. I have chickens that know their own names, and they'll come when they're called. You know, the rest of the flock will stay there, but I'll call some of them, and they'll come. They're absolutely incredible animals. But when it comes to shove-ins, and in case people don't know, a shove-in basically is an entity that used to live in a body, and then the body died, and they got stuck in the in-between world, and they're kind of opportunistic. And so if they have an opportunity to possess something for whatever reason, they take it. And then the behavior of the thing they possessed changes. And whether it's a chicken or a human, we've taken a lot of shove-ins out of people and just brought their personalities right back to the way they were. And before that, with the shoving in them, they could be drinking when they never drank before, or very violent when they were never violent before. I mean, it literally is like night and day with their personalities. So, you know, in our book, Got Ghosts, we have quite a few shove-in stories that really make a difference, because people can see the shift and the change once the shove-in is removed.
Well, gals, I've got a question for the two of you, because for someone who, such as myself, I was raised a Southern Baptist, but I actually moved away from that belief system for the most part. I still believe in Jesus, that kind of stuff, but I don't necessarily believe in hell or even demonic beings as told about in the biblical sense. But I do know that there are negative entities out there, because I have seen them myself. I have felt the negativity, they will siphon or whatever it is, they will take away all the positivity out of you. I had one that I had nicknamed a negative when I worked at a hotel, because all it was in the shape of a human being, but it was pure black. I could see it walking toward from up the hallway, and I saw it in a mirror. And going into the kitchen area, so I went out, and I was like, maybe I'm just imagining things, and because it looked just like a person, but it was pure black. So I went out to greet the person, and what I saw was exactly what I saw in that mirror. And the difference is that when I got closer to it, I'm not the type of person who fears things, but I was as fearful as I have ever been a day in my life. And I don't know how long this entity had been there, but at that point I began to realize that the baggage a person brings in is more than their physical baggage. They can also bring in these spiritual pieces of baggage that just attaches themselves to a person and may roam after a while that person's sleeping or whatever. They'll roam and see what else they can find. But what are these entities? If for those people who do not believe in hell, what are these things that people call demons?
Well, that's such a good question, because what you were talking about is sometimes a shove-on.
A shove-on.
So, in other words, there's shove-ins, and then there's shove-ons, where they don't actually get into your system, but they're hanging on you and sucking your energy dry. And, you know, we've been ghost busting for, 20 years or something, and we haven't come across demons, you know, as the biblical sense of demons either. But we've come across entities that people think are demons, And then when we come and check it out, it turns out to just be an asshole.
An asshole.
In other words, if an asshole, yeah. So if someone's an asshole in their life, they're mean and they're tyrannical and they're vicious and they're violent and they're cruel. When they die, that soul, the personality of that soul stays stuck in that soul. And so they maintain that personality as a ghost. And so that's part of it. And then there are just entities that are dark and heavy vibration that feed on the dark, because light attracts light and dark attracts dark. And we just call that weird shit, right, Lorley?
Right. Well, and there's all kinds of, there's like weird alien shit that we that we get into. There's a, and people might call it demon because that's what they have this perception of, but they're mean and nasty, like what people would think a demon was. So if you want to call a demon, oh well, but they're this cosmos is so full of stuff. It's like just when you think you have seen it all, then you see something else.
Oh, yes. I mean, even theoretical physicists such as Michio Kaku, Brian Greene, both of whom have appeared on my show, not necessarily this one, but the other one that I used to do. And there are multiverses that they believe in, multiverses within our own universe, even multiple Earths, multiple copies of us that are just within the layers. It's almost like if you take an onion and you peel the layers, every layer is a unique multi-version of our world that we're living right now. Sometimes you'll get a good universe, a good world. Other times you might get one that an apocalypse has already happened. You might get one where The Walking Dead is already happening and it's not fiction, where COVID-19 turned out to be much worse and created who knows what.
Yes. And there was a TV show called Sliders.
I remember that.
Actually, remember that show? I loved that show. But it was exactly the same thing, multiple Earths with different probabilities of things that happened. Maybe the dinosaurs didn't die out. Maybe women ran the world instead of men, things like that. So I kind of go with that attitude and that belief structure that there are multi-dimensional places and things, and it expands and it just goes on and on. So we don't know everything. I don't think there's anybody on this planet that really knows everything. We just make our best guess. And with Lorley and I, we've been in this metaphysical, spiritual world for, 30, 40 years, a long, long, long time. And we just kind of have developed our own system of dealing with it. And sometimes we have to come up with new things because there are new entities or new ideas that come up, and we have to figure out a way on fixing it or helping it or whatever it might be.
You said there are...
yeah.
You just said that you have come across new entities. You've been doing this for 30, 40 years, and you still come across new entities. Is it almost like a virus that's mutating, creating new, more powerful versions of itself? What's happening?
I'll let Lorley take that because, again, she's the queen of weird shit. And she's always coming up with new stuff.
Oh, God.
She's the one creating all these entities with her witchy magic.
She's actually getting rid of them.
Actually, what I've been working on is bringing all the benevolent people up into the present timeline, and then clipping the other one, the hideous ones off, and putting them in the recycle bin. And so each, doing this, hundreds of times a year, helps keep things cleaned up and cleaned out and keep the riffraff out of here. But there's still, with like you say, huge cosmos, and there's always something new that you're like, whoa, I didn't see that one coming. But then also we have have you seen the Cryogenetics Egg? Have you seen a picture of that? It's on our website and it's in our book. And that's what we use. It's a really cool egg, and it's got these geometric designs in it, and then a DNA helix in the middle, and a star at the top, and a diamond at the bottom. And we use this egg to quarantine ghosts, and then the egg takes them off to go to the cosmic recycle bin where it sorts things out, and if there was anything good, it pulls that out and then totally takes the rest to zero. So these have been very valuable, and we found that the egg keeps upping its game and evolving like really fast, as the dark can make stuff. Us and our eggs can make it faster. And so the egg is, like I said, we use it to quarantine things and then take the ghosts off to where they need to go. And the egg, and you don't know this, Ronnie, this is a news story. One time I saw the egg, and there was a ghost that was really traumatized. So we put a ghost in the egg, and it started rocking it back and forth. And then the ghost calmed down, and so we could kind of work with it and talk to it and then help take it to where it needed to go for rehab. Well, somebody wrote to me just this week and said that about a year ago, she got in the egg and it started rocking her and de-traumatizing her. And then she read it in my book. I just came out with another book, Cryogenetics 2, and saw that story was in there. And she said it made her feel so good to know that she had already experienced what she didn't even know about the egg rocking her and calming her down so that she could stabilize. And so, Ronnie, there's somebody else that knows how to rock the eggs, too.
I know. That's very, very cool. Because I did experience that with the eggs, too, helping. We were working on somebody, and there was a lot of agitation going on, and I could feel the egg just rocking back and forth, and I'd never experienced that before. That's very cool.
Yes, it sounds like it. Now, girls, have y'all ever been to a haunting, a exorcist, or anything of that sort where you encounter actual powerful entities where a person might be shoved up against the wall? Because I've heard these stories from people that I personally know that I don't believe would be fibbing at all, that they've seen or they've felt or they have personally witnessed entities physically lifting people up off the floor, shoving them up against the walls, and sometimes these people will even get images. I'm not going to say that these things actually happened. Let's just say this entity manipulated their minds and projected images of blood flowing all over the place. Have y'all ever encountered anything of that sort?
When we were working at the Amargosa Hotel and Opera House, right near Pahrump,
oh yes,
far from Pahrump, we haven't physically experienced any kind of strong manipulation in that way, but there was a really, really big, bad, horrible ghost there, tyrannical ghost that was controlling everything. They thought it was a demon. So here's another, example of people thinking it's a demon because it was so evil. And when we were taking a tour, and it was all through the back of the hotel, it was all rubble in there. When I walked past this place that used to be a communal shower, I was hit with an image that was so strong, it made me sick to my stomach. And it was very similar to what you just talked about, Bob. It was an image of somebody getting stabbed to death in the shower and blood running everywhere. And it was so strong. And so my stomach was just like, oh my God, nauseated. But I knew that it was this evil entity that was controlling everything. And then when we walked into another back room, myself and the lady that brought us there, we both heard so strongly this violent, "Get out!" I mean, it was so strong in both our ears. My eyes popped out of my head, and so did hers. Fortunately, Laura Lee was like, "Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo," just tootling along, and her antennas were down. She didn't hear it.
He wasn't doing that to me just then.
No, get out. And so that's basically, I think part of it is Laura Lee and I don't have fear when we work. We have no fear. Fear is what weakens us. Fear is what allows those entities to do the things that they do. And we carry so much light within us and so much protection that we have not had anything vicious or violent happen to us physically.
Well, I had people, okay. I had a being that possessed a guy that was staying with me, and normally this guy, he if entities came in, they could just talk through him. But this time he opened his eyes, not just talked. He opened his eyes and got up. He thought that I knew where his beloved was. And I says, I don't know who you're talking about. And he says, I think you do. He went in the kitchen and got a butcher knife and started chasing me around the house.
Oh my God!
And I know. I'm like, okay, my daughter is going to be coming home from high school in about 15 minutes. I've got to talk this guy down and get the knife away from him before she walks in the door. So, oddly enough, I had my Aurora Light pendant on, and you can read about that in our book. And I'm holding up the pendant, running around, trying to talk him down. He's got this knife, and this guy's pretty big, okay, with a butcher knife. And I knew somehow I knew I'd be able to talk him down. I should have been scared half to death, but I wasn't. I just knew somehow I could talk him down, and I did. He saw the pendant. He started calming down. He said, "Listen, I think I can help you, but you got to put the knife down, So I got him to put the knife down, and he sat down. I said, "Listen, tell me who this is. I think I know where she's been trapped." And so he did, and I helped him find her, and now we're besties. Okay, but it was kind of rough in the beginning. So yeah, that's I've been chased a couple of times by people with knives that got possessed. So it can be really concerning because it's you have to stay focused and it's like a thing within your heart talks to the other person's heart, and then it calms them down. It's hard to explain. I until you've had it happen to you, it's really hard to explain. Mm-hmm. Now, there is another story about when we were at the Amargosa. We were holding hands in a circle, and there's this guy that's like peering around. There is an old garage there, and he's like walking around, peering around there, just like lurking and looking at us. And I'm like, who is that guy? And all of a sudden, he starts making a beeline toward our circle that we had, that we were trying to maintain the energy so that we could get the ghosts out of there. Well, he comes toward our circle, and the gal that was the caretaker of the hotel said, "Listen, I'm going to go get," she knew the guy, "I'm going to go get Eduardo a drink, a cup of coffee. You guys stay here and don't break the circle." So we're like, okay, you do that. And so she goes off. There's a guy that is sitting at the front of the hotel watching this all. He says, "How come you're coming here?" And she says, "Oh, I'm just going to get Eduardo a cup of coffee." And he says, "You're going to do what? Who?" She turned over, and Eduardo had disappeared. He wasn't real. And we all saw him. You saw him, didn't you, Ronnie? We all saw him.
And he just
was
literally
physical.
disappeared.
He was as physical as can be. It's not like you could see through him, but he was some kind of an apparition. He wasn't physical, but he was physical. There was so much weirdness that happened there. I don't know how they made something physical and then disappear. I don't know how that was. Somehow that the Amargosa was connected to some of the military bases in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some very weird things that happened.
Well, that there could be several different things that could be happening there, but he was interacting with y'all. I was almost thinking maybe it could have been a recording, because we know that can happen where rocks or a situation can record people, can record emotions, can record events. But I don't know if rocks, if the magnetic system of the earth could record consciousness as well. Could that be possible, that some of the ghosts that we are seeing are, especially if they are able to physically rearrange themselves, could it be possible that they are somehow a part of the earth, and maybe the elements are rearranging the conscious being somehow from their recording? I mean, talk about strange shit, right?
Yeah.
Anything's possible. It felt to me more like it was a deliberate action. It's like the nasty ghost Ronnie was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like he was like a conduit for whatever was going on with the military experiments or whatever. And this Eduardo guy that was a real guy, but they turned him into an apparition. It's almost like it was all intertwined. It wasn't just one or the other. It was all working together. There was another guy that went there, and he started putting his things away, and a cat came in, and he bent down to pet the cat, and he comes out screaming. And he says, "What's the matter?" He says, "There's a cat in there." And I said, "Well, okay, we'll come and get him out." He says, "No, you don't understand. It's only a half a cat."
What?
And and then I've heard of stories of half a cats where there's just, and apparently it was the front half. Then I had to ask, okay, was it the front half or the back half of the cat that was there? And apparently it's the front half. And I guess there's a lot of other stories about half a cats. I looked it up on the internet later, and there was some stories like that.
Well, my dad had told me a story back when they lived on a farm. I guess he was a teenager at that point. I don't know if this was when my grandfather and uncle, before they got struck down by lightning and killed. He was 15 years of age when that happened. But when they lived on a farm, my dad told me that he was, I don't know what he was doing, but he encountered a snake with a man's head. But also on that property, a man had been hanged during the Civil War, and after my grandfather and my uncle were struck down by lightning in 1957, I believe it was, or 58, my grandmother would see a light every single night for almost a month straight, going to the family cemetery after they died. So
somebody went to visit them at night?
She doesn't believe that because it was the family farm. There was a gate, from what my dad had told me, and actually I've been there once or twice before as a kid. So there was this gate that only a person that actually lived there would go, because it was part of the farm. It was the family cemetery. So I have no idea. And my dad even told me a time after Uncle William, that was the uncle who died, after Uncle William died, I don't know how long it had been afterwards, but Dad would hear a bicycle inside the house. And Uncle William apparently rode his bicycle. He was 27 years of age, never had a girlfriend, according to Dad, never had any aspirations to leave the farm. He loved his farm work, and he rode his bicycle.
Yes. Well, that to me sounds like he might have become a ghost. Usually when people die in a sudden manner, like lightning would be pretty sudden, sudden,
Sudden?
or it's sudden,
Southern?
or they might die, in extreme pain or fear, all those heavier emotions. That's what creates a ghost, because the spirit pops out of the body, and the frequency and vibration is so heavy that they don't get to see the tunnel home. It's there. I believe the tunnel's always there to go home, but their vibration is so heavy they don't get to see it. Then it closes back up and they're stuck between the worlds. And then they sometimes don't even know they're dead. Most of the time they don't even know they're dead. And they continue to do the things that they like to do, like riding a bike or cooking in the kitchen. I mean, we've had so many ghosts that just continue their life like it was still going on. And yet the people that are physical living in the house, they can hear the cabinets moving. They can hear, like you said, the bike riding. Sometimes it's a dog that gets stuck, and they can hear that's the time I heard a dog that was stuck. I could hear the nails on the wooden floor just running, and I thought the person was kidding me when they said they didn't have a dog. I said, no, I just heard that. No, that's just old buddy, he's a ghost. It's like, no. And I had to go out in the hallway and see that there really was no dog there. So, yeah, that's what happens when people stay as a ghost. They are dying in that heavy frequency or an attachment to things, and they get to be in the in-between world. So that's why Laura Lily and I, we got the Ghostbuster Gals going, because it's a rescue mission, basically. We're rescuing people from that in-between world.
Can a person who is stuck eventually degrade, as in the good humanity that was part of them? Could they eventually become something like, I'm going to butcher the name because it's been so long since I've heard about it or talked about it. What is it? Incubus, succubus, the sexual demons or entities? Could it be?
Yeah.
Well, what are those? Are those humans that have a porn fetish? Well, what is it?
Oh, Ronnie can tell you.
Oh, boy.
Oh, can she now?
Oh,
I've had an experience.
we have a story in our book, too. This is in our book, so people can...
It embarrasses me sometimes.
Oh, but it's so good. No,
oh, my
I love
gosh.
this story.
Yeah, well, to answer your question, my opinion, just my opinion, is that incubuses and succubuses are not ghosts in the sense that they're not humans. They didn't live human lives and then get stuck as ghosts and then become incubuses and succubuses. And just so people know, an incubus is a male entity that is sexually, it's about sex. Let's put it that way.
It's very perverted.
Yeah, it's like let me tell you my
it can
story.
be, but it doesn't have to be. There's good ones and bad ones, just like people.
Yeah.
There's nice ones and then mean ones, okay? So,
Yeah,
okay, go on, Ronnie.
Oh, boy. So when I lived in Arizona, I had roommates. I had a nice big house with a pool. It was lovely. And one night, am I talking about this on the radio?
Yes, you are.
This is terrible.
It makes for good radio.
Sad at the time.
Yeah.
You were kind of sad at the time.
I was lonely.
You were going through something, and you were.
I was. I had broken up with my boyfriend and it was a long time, and I was upset, and I hadn't had sex for a while, and oh goodness! But one night I was visited by an entity that looked like, it didn't look like a human. It was very odd. It had kind of a hairy face and big brown eyes, dark brown, and pointed ears, almost like a wolf man type thing, but it wasn't. And it was so gentle and so kind and so loving and so giving. And we made love. Let's put it that way.
You had a relationship.
A wonderful evening together. A wonderful evening.
was kind of great. Yes.
And how long did your relationship?
Great. Come on, Ronnie.
And how long did your relationship last?
It was only a one-night stand.
Oh, you didn't call him back or anything?
It was out of this world.
It was. But here's the weirdest part. The weirdest part. Okay, so I thought, I was dreaming. I just thought something was wrong with me, blah, blah, blah. No. So the next day or 2 days later, my roommate comes out into the kitchen, and she said, I had the most incredible experience. I was visited by this alien or wolf-type creature that made love to me. And I'm like, what? I had that guy, too. That's mine. Wait a minute.
I'm going to have to kick his ass.
Yes. Actually, I'll fight you for him. No. The thing the way I felt was like, holy crap, what the, I wasn't really awake or, I didn't know about stuff like this. I thought I was imagining it. And when she's had the same experience, it's like, oh my goodness gracious. So we kind of researched it and saw that it was probably a succubus. The interesting part about this is, like, years later, I was having a conversation with a friend of mine who is a New York Times best-selling author. I won't mention his name. And he's gay. And he was telling me of an experience he had with the same type of creature, a male creature like ours, and described him almost identical. To the little pointed ears and the soft, beautiful eyes and the kindness and the gentleness and the sweetness. So he had the same kind of experience. So there's something to it. As Lorley said, sometimes these incubuses and succubuses can be, or incubi and succubi, as they say, can be
go to Betty
evil.
Bye with an incubi.
Yeah. That's what you used to always say, yeah. Betty Bye with the incubi. They could be evil and dark also, but these were benevolent, gentle, kind, sweet beings. And
Healers. They were healers, is what they were, because they were healing trauma.
Or emotional.
Emotional healing.
And I wonder how many of those, which one is the female?
The succubus.
I wonder how many of those succubuses are out there pregnant right now.
None.
Spiritually pregnant succubus. Yeah, I mean, really. And then you have all these little baby ones roaming around.
They have
little baby
sex, okay, they know.
Oh, we are really degrading now.
Really degrading.
Yes.
They're smart enough to know.
The Howard Stern Show.
There are things out there that most people don't know. And if you stay open-minded and open-hearted and yet still protect yourself, because we use that cryogenetics egg that Lorley talked about as a protection against negative energy, there's a lot of things that are going on. This is the time for wake-up for people. I don't know if anybody out there is feeling it, but I'm getting a lot of clients and a lot of people going, wow, stuff's going on. I'm just feeling like I'm at the edge of something, and it's because it's a wake-up call. Things are about to become clear. The light, there's this kind of, I guess it's maybe biblical, but, not that I'm into the Bible either, but there's this war between good and evil, dark and light, and, the darkness is grabbing hold, and then the light that we are, the ones that are waking up, the ones that are good and kind and sweet and gentle and use compassion and caring and love and giving, we are the ones that are helping this planet evolve into something beautiful. And so that's our job. So if you're feeling like you're kind of waking up and something's going on, just hold that light and hold that love, not the fear. Because out there, everybody knows what they're doing with the mainstream media and everything else, just pumping that fear in. with this virus fear and all this other fear.
Yes.
I don't buy into that. It's use that love to help balance things out.
I don't know how true this is, but it was a dream I had on multiple occasions. Usually, if you have a dream on multiple occasions back to back, it holds some truth. I had a dream once of, I guess this group, if I'm not mistaken, it was called the Brotherhood of the Light. And,
yes, Brotherhood of Light.
And these individuals were essentially bright, light, empowered people who were fighting against the darkness. I don't know if these people actually exist, if it's a spiritual being. They are.
They do exist.
Huh. Well, that's
yes, the
interesting.
Brotherhood. Yes.
It all exists. Everything exists. But
the Brotherhood is a group of beings. Some people actually think it's the same as the Galactic Council. It's the same type of thing. It's beings of the light that are here to support us and help us and show us and share with us their light energy. So yes, the Brotherhood of Light is a real
I found that really strange. In these dreams, darkness was approaching, and I don't remember the message they were giving me, but they were essentially saying we need to keep the light strong because darkness is approaching.
And how long ago did you have those dreams?
Oh, this was like 2 years ago, something like that. And I just, it's just a dream, really. And with dreams, you never know what the time frame is going to be if these are prophetic type of dreams.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So who knows?
Well, I think they're happening now. I think, when you really look at some of the strange agendas that are going on the planet, the dark has their agenda, world control, world domination. And then the light, we have our agenda of peace and love and caring and compassion.
Freedom.
And, freedom. Exactly. So some people, we have our finger in the world of metaphysics and spirituality, and we can see what people are saying. We have people all over the world that are contacting us. And so they feel the same kind of thing, that something is coming. And our job as light workers, which is what you are, Bob, you are a light worker, and that is to hold that light and hold the peace and hold the love, because love is the highest frequency and vibration there is.
Yes.
Nothing can touch it.
Now, we've got like 5 minutes left, but if you want to go over, we can. But Laura Lee, I want to ask y'all about the cryogenic egg, I believe it's called. But because when you were mentioning that, there was one thing I've always been wondering. With negative entities, extremely powerful negative entities that probably the spiritual world would be better off without altogether if we just kept them imprisoned or whatever. Would it be possible to use your cryogenic egg, capture one of these extremely powerful entities, and make them into a battery source, almost like an unending source of energy? I hear you go,
No. Well, I think that's an interesting concept, because what the egg does is it recycles things. And if there's anything good or benevolent or useful, that comes out the other end, and the things that are just downright evil and not useful get poof, they're gone.
But could you use it as an energy source? I mean, to use that negativity, or would that be something
What the eggs would have to do is clean it out. I wouldn't touch the energy with a 10-foot pole till it had been neutralized.
But yeah, I see what Bob's saying. It's kind of like a proton pack, you suck those energies in there, and then take that and
launch a rocket with it. Yes.
into light. We haven't been able to do that yet, but the eggs are evolving all the time.
They are.
That would be a very cool thing.
They've evolved, and I just wrote a book called Cryogenetics 2, and it tells all the modalities that the eggs go into, and we call it the badass egg. And there's a whole list of things that it can do. And so you can One of the things that I was talking to Ronnie about was that when I feel a lot of yuck on me, and you just can't think very well, and you just feel like you're kind of hunched over, and so I got in the egg and told it to go in sickle mode, and so it took this like sickle that went all the way around the egg and clipped off all of the things and the energies that were tying into me. It clipped them off like scissors, like it just cut them, and then it poof, it's like it's gone. And I was able to take a deep breath and like stretch my back, and it was like poof. It was like going into another world. So these eggs can do marvelous things. When you're feeling really down and crappy, and you get in your egg and say, "Okay, please clean me out." Maybe it'll go in vacuum mode. You never know what the egg is going to do. It's got its own consciousness. They're just like amazing. And so
I don't go to sleep without one.
I don't either. I don't leave home without them. Every night, egg me and the house and the chickens and.
Where do you get these cryogenic eggs from? Do you have a cryogenic egg chicken?
No, but I'm.
Oh my God! Wouldn't that be nice?
I'll have to name my next.
Bob.
Here I go again.
Funny.
You're so funny. You are so funny.
I love it. No, because they're. Go ahead, Lorley. You go ahead.
Well, the eggs.
They're non-physical.
Once you see it, then you can imagine it, and then you can actually. The eggs are sentient beings, and you can talk to them, and say, "Okay, my husband over there is being like really angry, so you put an egg around him and kind of calm him down, and maybe it'll rock him. So you can just use it to help you manage your life and your world. They're amazing. And this is what we do with ghosts, and we'll have to maybe do this on another show, but this is what we use to take the ghosts out of the World Trade Centers when that
yes.
went down.
Yes, that's right. But
and
see,
that's
the eggs,
another
so
story.
The eggs are not physical, that you use your mind to create it yourself, but the physical aspect of the egg is the Almoricite rock, you see. So the rock is like the physical aspect, and we do all of our ghost bustings with this special rock, which is not from this planet. It's a tektite. And the rock itself is also very powerful. Sometimes you can just put it in your hand, and then you can just feel the energy relax.
Yes.
So
and I had a
lot of
question.
good tools.
And there was an individual who had a question for you from paranormalforum.net. Her name is Debbie. She wants to know, what breed are your chickens? Because she used to be a former chicken owner herself.
Oh, bless you, Debbie. We love our chickens so much, and for me, I've got quite a few Araucanas, and those are the blue egg layers. And I have a Midnight Majesty Moran, which lays a dark colored egg, and I have an Andalusian. Let's see, I have some comets. They're called comets or gold stars. We've got lots of different breeds that lay different colored eggs. It's fabulous.
And I have some miniature chickens. They're
Bantams.
Little banty chickens, and I have some with fuzzy feet. And I've got one that's a Surma. How do you say it, Ronnie?
Surama. Surama.
Teeny tiny. She's about as big as a little quail.
Maybe a little
Sometimes
bigger than a quail, but not much.
Yeah, they call them quail chickens, and she is like my favorite thing. She is so cute. I have some on my YouTube channel, rwsproductions.com, is some pictures of my chickens and my ducks and the crazy all the crazy things that happen on the farm are pigeon, the pigeon that I rehabbed, and Pidgey Poo. So she can check that out, and I'm glad that there's other chicken lovers.
Debbie.
We're crazy chicken ladies. We are, and we're proud of it.
Oh, yeah.
And all of our chickens have names, every single one of them.
They do.
And even And they're old. Some of our chickens are almost 10 years old.
Wow.
Which is unheard of. Yeah.
I don't name my chickens, but then again, the only breed of chicken I have is KFC.
I was going to say, I knew you were going to say that.
I know.
I'm an ass, so...
Yes,
No.
you're being a total asshole right now. You are right now.
Hey, at least I didn't ask about that breeding question I asked earlier, right?
Oh, please don't. Please refrain from that.
Oh, you're so funny.
Oh, it's always fun to
Before
do a
we
show
go,
with you.
gals, I do want to ask, I believe it is you, Laura Lee, Witchy Woman, who has a book out right now, or at least I think you do, about, what is it? Going back to incubus, succubus, that kind of stuff, it was about what? Porn energy? Something or another?
Oh,
What is that?
yes. It's called, the book is called The Anatomy of the Porn Vibration, What They Didn't Teach You in Sunday School. And this takes it to a whole new level. It's like you understand it. It's not just about watching porn. That's part of it. But it's about an energy that has engulfed the whole planet. And it explains what it is and how to not be a part of that. And it's, it's pretty interesting. I'll send you a copy of it, okay? I think it would be.
And I'll read it with my wife.
You would? Yes. Well, I think you should, and then you can talk it over.
Oh, Lord, have mercy.
Yes.
And then the
So
incubus,
we'll have to do
succubuses will
another-
show up.
Yeah,
They might.
They might.
They might.
But then you'll be ready and you won't be scared. Okay, you can go, okay, it's about time you showed up. You can.
Yes.
That's the key thing. No fear. No fear.
No fear.
Well, gals,
Just love,
right.
2021 is here. I know y'all need to go here in a bit, but it's 2021. What do y'all have on your calendar, if anything? What are you looking forward to? Anything else?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going out to a restaurant to eat again.
Are you going to get the
We've
vaccine?
been No.
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 Not us.
No.
No.
If you really want to get into this stuff, I personally, I shouldn't be saying this.
I don't care. Go ahead and say it.
I call this a scamdemic. And I do believe that the virus is real. It's obviously real. I believe the virus was manufactured in a Wuhan lab. That's my just personal belief. I've seen, enough evidence to say that that's how it is. And
I believe the same thing.
Like a normal virus. Yeah. But as a scamdemic, because, 99.9% of the people that get this virus survive it. Think about that. 99.9% survive. And, my cousin has it right now, and his wife has it, and they feel fine, and, they felt a little bad, but they're just fine. Yes, some people do die, and that's very sad, but I also believe nobody dies unless they've made that conscious, or I should say, soul choice to die in the first place. But to shut this country down when 99% of the people are surviving it, there's something other going on. And it's back to that fear factor. You watch the news and they program people into fear. They brainwash people into that fear, which lowers vibration, which also makes you more susceptible to catching the virus, you see. There's underlying agenda. So my attitude is keep your immune system strong. Keep vitamin C, vitamin D3, zinc in your system at all times, and that will help you, and other things to help you pump your immune system. But most of all is stay in that high frequency of love. That's critical. When I was a hospice volunteer, not to really go off into this tangent, but I was a hospice volunteer for a long time at the VA. And we would get patients that had AIDS, that had hepatitis C, that had some very, very serious diseases that were, you can contract very easily. I never had any fear going in there. I just did a my own prayers. I kept my vibration high, and I stayed in that frequency of love, and nothing ever bothered me. And that was almost like 15 years of spending time with the dying. So, yeah, that's just my thing, scamdemic. So no vaccine for me, thank you.
I do want to say...
I'm not telling people not to get it, though.
Yeah.
You know, if it's going to make somebody feel better by having it, by all means, you know, take it, but not me.
I just want to say that I respect your opinion. You know, we're friends. A lot of people may not realize this, but I consider the two of you friends.
Yes.
And it's just like with everybody else. Everybody's got their opinion. I may not agree with your opinion, but I don't have to. We respect each other. I believe that there is scientific evidence, scientific facts to support the fact that there's a deadly virus. I mean, you even admitted that.
There is.
I will be getting a vaccine myself. I believe that it came out from Wuhan or somewhere around their lab. I think it was accidentally or purposely released.
Yeah.
But it's like you let a cat out of the bag. Is it going to go back in the bag? I doubt that. Even with the vaccine, where will we be? Where will we be in 5 years from now? Will the vaccine continually work? Or is it going, or will the virus continually mutate as we are seeing right now, which in my opinion is highly unusual for a virus to mutate as fast, as rapidly as it has been as soon as a vaccine is made. Now, I'm not saying it's not possible. I'm just saying I find it strange that...
Well, don't you think maybe it's got some help?
It possibly has. Out in South Africa, the South African strain of the COVID-19 virus, according to what I'm reading, they don't know for sure that the vaccine is going to work with it.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, it has a different modality of attaching. And, yeah.
Yeah, but gals...
There's always going to be something.
What?
People are making billions off of this. Billions and billions of dollars.
Well, thankfully, they're not going to charge the citizens, but they are going to charge the government. If you ask me, that is bullshit. Give the government, give the world population this vaccine. Don't charge anybody. I understand it costs money to make, but you shouldn't be profiteering off of a worldwide pandemic. You just shouldn't.
Absolutely. I agree.
Just like with insulin, you should not be profiteering off of life-saving medicine, period.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Now, that's a different type of show, but that's my belief.
No, I agree. Only if you're an asshole would you do that, right?
Yeah, the dark. It's
that's right.
You know, that's how you tell the difference between the dark and the light. Is it greed, control, manipulation, and fear? And you can know that entity or that thing is operating in the dark polarity. If it's giving and loving and kind and sharing and compassionate, then that's the light. So you can look at anything with those terms and see if it's dark or light, and then decide where you want to play.
Yes. Now, when it comes to these entities, I know y'all need to go, and I keep talking. I mean, once I talk, you just can't shut me up. I'm kind of like one of those Pringles commercials, you know. Once you start, you just can't stop, man. Just
well, that's why you call it a talk show.
Exactly.
Okay. Question. What's your question?
I had a question. It flew over my head. But anyway, when you have these entities that you call the ass-sos, do you ever poke the ass-so with a finger? Like, hey, I'm going to poke you ass-so. You know, and then
actually, sort of, kind of, I do, because the egg, I'm glad you brought this up, because Ronnie and I were talking about this. The egg will, when I get assholes on me that...
I hate that because they smell.
Talk me, yes, well, sometimes they do. Okay, sometimes they do. Okay, so when they're like trash talking you, they won't leave. You know, they keep making. They just, you know how they are. They just tell you stupid things and trash talk you and make.
I do the same thing.
Scared and you're like, that's not me with this. Who is this? So what you do, and these are magic words. If you say, "Screw you loser. Now, it's not F you loser. You cannot say that. That'll put you down in the porn vibration. When you say screw you loser, I'm not buying it. What happens is it calls up a cryogenetics egg that goes into battle mode. The star at the top starts spinning, and it goes after the asshole, screws into him, and gives him truth and justice juice. Now, they don't like that, okay? So they're like, no, anything but that. And then I say, up yours, loser, which sends another group of eggs going up the food chain to whoever its bosses are. And it works every time.
As bizarre as it sounds, and I know people are going, what the heck?
Yeah,
it does sound really weird. But, there was a time last year I was getting psychically attacked all the time. It was
really
awful. Yes, total. Oh, it was so bad.
Oh, we were both getting it. Yeah, it was bad.
And I was calling her, because Lorelei saved me. I'm telling you, it was really bad. But I used the screw you loser, and I could just feel their hold on me loosening. And so, even now, once in a while, if I could feel something coming on to try to, mess with me, I'll use that screw you loser, and, it works.
It's instant. And the thing is, it will stop. If you're, like, afraid of something or anxiety about something, you think, this isn't me, say those magic words and see what happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm asleep. I've actually had that happen, particularly in this house that we moved in 2004, where I would hear a female voice screaming at me, and I would wake up, and I could still hear the female voice screaming at me. My wife is sound asleep, so I go looking for it. Nothing. But I can hear it right in my ear. And without, just that kind of stuff, And without waking up my wife, I approached this wherever it was. I was like, okay, you know what, you little elfer? I'm sick and tired of this. You show yourself, and I'm going to whip your sorry ass. Because you want me?
Did it ever show itself?
It did not. It probably will now that I said that, but it did not.
Well, now you've got the magic
word. It sounds like you've got a ghost. Yeah, but it sounds like that might be a ghost.
Yeah.
Because that's what ghosts will tend to do. A lot of times, ghosts will scream at you to get your attention. It's not like they're bad.
No, they're wanting something, but it's hard for them to communicate with us because
it is.
There's a vibrational level that's different, and we can't understand them. They can't understand us. Well, maybe they can understand us, but we can't understand them most of the time unless we have some kind of a device, right?
Well, no, unless you have people like Laura Lee and I, because that's what we do. As Ghostbusters, we communicate.
It's like a radio station. You have to be tuned into the right station, or you don't hear it. And so,
and we know how to do it.
That station.
Hey, you're tuned into me, so can you hear me?
We are. Yeah. That's why we think you might have Here's the thing, Bob. You channel a lot of light, okay? That's why you've had so many weird experiences. You channel a lot of light. And what happens is then ghosts can see that light, and they will try to come and visit and communicate and try to get your attention so they can go home. That's why even though we're Ghostbusters, we're really ghost rescuers.
I've always thought that myself, because when I was like 4 years of age, a man that a lot of people call Jesus, I came face to face with him. He showed himself to me on more than one occasion. The last time I was 18 years of age, of course, that last time was a dream. The first time was not. When I was 18 years of age, in this dream, he put his hand on my shoulder and said goodbye. And then when I woke up, the bed was shaking just as if I had been jumping up and down on that sucker. And my heart was beating, just as though I was like, oh my God, what was that? As though it actually happened. And to this day, I don't know what that meant. Goodbye. As in, I'm going to turn into the Antichrist? As in, I'm going to go to hell? Who knows? God, man.
Well, remember, there is no hell, but yes.
Well, there is a personal hell. A person can develop hell.
Yes, and person can choose to go to hell. but God never sends people to hell, ever. So if anybody's ever seen that movie, What Dreams May Come, it really kind of explains a little bit about what happens on the other side and how thoughts create reality. Now, thoughts create reality here on this side, but just not as quickly. So if you think you are going to go to hell when you die, you will go to some form of a hell. And I have personally rescued people out of some type of hell. It seemed like a hell kind of place, and I have been able to pull them out of it. But just so you know, it's not God sending you to hell. It's your thought processes creating it for you, and you can always uncreate it too.
Mm-hmm.
But for you, I it's hard to know what that goodbye meant.
I think he was just saying, I'm going to go for a while. See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But gals, when a person commits suicide, I've had that personal experience. I have not committed suicide. I wouldn't be here if I had, unless this is the other side. But I've had loved ones who had committed suicide.
Yes.
When that happens, is there a way to make sure that they move on? To help them, because right now, obviously, they're hurting. That they were hurting when they did it, and so therefore, we've got to find a way to ease their pain and get them to realize it's time to move on. Release that pain. Go. Be in the light.
It's easy to say that to somebody, but it's harder for them to release that pain. Most of the suicides that we've had, 90-something% of them, when someone commits suicide, they do not get to cross over. They get stuck, and a lot of times they get to repeat their death over and over again. And I guess, and you want to talk about hell? When they repeat it, the first time I ever actually did a ghost busting, this is in our book too, it was a woman who committed suicide, and it's a long story, but to make it short, she got pregnant from the master of the house. She was a servant, and she hid her pregnancy, and she had the baby in a big clawfoot bathtub, and she killed the baby. And she wrapped the baby up in white towels and took it down to the trash and threw it out with the trash. The guilt of that was so overwhelming. Not that even she killed her baby, but that she didn't give her baby a proper burial.
Wow.
That was her main thing. I know, it's like weird. But she was haunting the top half or the top part of this mansion. And she would pace and pace and pace, and everybody physically heard the pacing, and nobody wanted to go up there. So this was my first experience as a Ghostbuster. I didn't even know I could do this kind of thing. I just went with a friend just because I was curious. But we went up to the top, and I was able to perceive her and see her pacing. And I was able to communicate telepathically with her, but her problem was she didn't feel she deserved to go to heaven because God hated her because she didn't give the baby a proper burial. So I was able to, at the time, the only thing I had to go by was that TV show Touched by an Angel.
Oh, yes.
Right, because I had no experience, and I remember watching that show. And so I was able to communicate that God loved her and God forgave her. And I was able to get her to cross over. But I would say in all the suicides we've ever seen, the one I remember was a man who was ill. He was diagnosed with some cancer, and he was going to die soon, and he didn't want his family to go through that with him and cause pain for his family. And so he laid out a shower curtain by the door and shot himself. And he didn't want to make a mess. That's how much he paid attention. He didn't want to make a mess. So we did that. And he left. He crossed over immediately because his attitude was not about him being in that, oh, poor me, I have no hope. There's nothing to live for because I just have no hope, which is most of the reason why people kill themselves. It's no hope. but he was doing it for somebody else, and that vibration of that higher light vibration helped cross him over. So we want to help take care of your friends that committed suicide, because we know that they're stuck. And that's the kind of thing Laura Lee and I do. We'll go in and we'll communicate with them and find a way to get them to cross over. And sometimes it's finding a person to help them cross over. Sometimes we bring Jesus back. We call him Yeshua, because his mother did, But the entity, vibration of who and what Jesus was or Yeshua was, we bring that back. But if they're not religious, that's not going to work. They won't go with Yeshua. They won't go with angels. So we have to find what it is that they're connected to. Sometimes it's a pet. We've done that before. A young teenager that died. We had to bring his dog back. That's the only thing he would go with. Very weird. So our book, Ghost, talks a lot about these stories and how we help people cross over and what we have to use, to help them cross. And we don't make them. It has to be their choice. But we do bring the tunnel, we open up a tunnel for them, and then find that way to get to them. So yeah, we do want to help those two ladies that you've told us about to cross, and it will be our gift to you and to them to be able to do that.
Well, we appreciate it.
We'll have to talk to you offline and get the background on it a little more, and then we'll work on that for you.
Yes. Well, gals, I guess we do need to head out here. I'm going to play some music, I guess, or maybe we'll just do a sing along. Nobody wants to hear me singing, but we can start singing along, and maybe take some moonshine, some edibles, and all at the same time. Oh Lord! But well, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Ghostbuster Gals, and they're still online with me, and they're actually playing the music right now. I've got them in the background. They're just playing the music, the flutes and everything else. Ain't that right, gals?
This is my favorite song.
Ghost dance.
That's right. They are awesome.
My favorite.
Well, folks.
Thank you.
Well, folks, until the next time we come back together again, me and the gals, we bid you all a kind farewell.